Welcome to the very first episode of Mick's Talking No Nuts, the podcast where we explore real stories about life with peanut and tree nut allergies. Whether it's firsthand experience or supporting a friend or loved one who lives with these allergies, we're here to simply share stories with other people in our nut-free community. My name is Mick, founder of Mick's Got No Nuts, a company working to release a 100% nut-free protein bar made in a dedicated nut-free facility. I personally have a peanut and tree nut allergy, so I truly understand the struggles of navigating the world full of nuts. My mission is to help people with nut allergies and to truly understand their stories and perspectives. Each week, I'll talk with someone who either lives with a nut allergy or lives around a nut allergy. So whether you're a parent, partner, child, or someone just curious, you'll soon learn that having a nut allergy can be super cool. For our first ever episode today, I welcome Lisa and Chris living in Alberta, Canada. They have a 19-year-old son, Matt, who has a severe nut allergy. You'll learn in this episode how they found out he has a nut allergy and what they did from a young age to prepare him for the world full of peanuts and tree nuts around him. If you have any questions for Lisa and Chris, I encourage you to drop them in the comment section below, and they will get back to you as soon as they can. All right, enjoy the episode. Lisa and Chris, thank you so much for joining Mick's Talking No Nuts podcast, where we talk to people with or people who live around nut allergies. Lisa and Chris, do you mind telling me a little about yourself? Where are you guys from?
Well, hi, Mick.
Hi, Mick.
We're excited to be a part of your podcast. We are from Allergy, Alberta in Canada, which is just north of Calgary, Alberta.
For the Americans, where can we find Airdrie in Alberta?
South central Alberta, if that makes sense. So straight north of the state of Montana, if that helps.
And
That does help.
we're about 20 minutes from the Calgary Stampede location.
Yes.
Nobody knows where that is.
Well, they do now. Well, again, thank you for talking with me today. So obviously we're on a show about nut allergies. My name is Mick. I am creating a 100% nut-free protein bar made in a dedicated nut-free facility called Mick's Got No Nuts. And Lisa and Chris, I'm pretty sure someone in your life has a nut allergy. Do you mind telling me a little about that?
Yes, our youngest son, his name is Matt. He has a nut allergy. We discovered the nut allergy when he was 2 years old. We have two older daughters, and we were eating peanut butter one day, and we thought, oh, what the heck? I consciously thought about his age and introducing it to him. But the girls could have peanut butter, so I gave him just a little bit on his tongue, and immediately his face, his eyes started swelling.
Really?
Yeah.
So this was the very first time he ever had peanut butter, and you
Yes.
gave it to him with the intention of introducing him, with the intention of seeing if he has an allergy or not.
Yeah, I just thought, oh my gosh, we've always been careful with the other two introducing things, but I thought, well, let's just go for it, being child 3. And it didn't block his breathing at all, but he did swell up. So we went to the Children's Hospital in Calgary, and sure enough, he's allergic to nuts.
No kidding. So when you discovered obviously peanuts, did they concurrently find that he was also allergic to tree nuts as well?
Yes. Yeah.
We went through a whole test or a whole series of tests. I think there were 50 little pokes on his arm. All the tree nuts, especially pistachios, were really, really allergic. I guess he was extremely allergic. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Allergic. The pistachios was considerably worse. So we, from that point on, the allergist basically said to us, you can't cross-contaminate any tree nuts at all. There's just no option for you. You will be allergic to peanuts and all tree nuts going forward. So that was early in his life.
So then question, so when you say you went back home from the hospital, what was your immediate thought as soon as you came home, having to deal with this new revelation?
Well, we were pretty scared at first. We cleared our house of all nuts and peanuts, and we were, just really careful in what we did with that. As he grew up, he's been attached to the same specialist he's 19 now, for all those years. And we did eventually start getting used to the idea, and kind of made sure that he knew it was his allergy. And so instead of changing the environment everywhere he went, he had to learn to manage his allergy. So we taught him to ask if it has peanuts, or if we went to a birthday party, we didn't make them change the cake. He took something that he could eat, and he just had to learn. We did have backup though. We had multiple epi-pens. We were at all of our friends' house where he spent the most of his times. There was epi-pens there because we did want to make sure if he did cross-contaminate with their kitchens, that he would be safe to have the epi-pens to save his life.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you feel like the people around Matt's life were relatively sympathetic to his sensitivity to nuts?
I think so.
Yeah, they tried to be. And it just depended on if they had nut allergies in their life, they were more sympathetic. But quite often we would go to somebody's house for dinner and there'd be a bowl of peanuts on the table. Like, it's just so hard to think about. So we had to really wanted him to be proactively thinking about that.
Yeah, and I would say we encouraged Matt to basically advocate for himself. So we wouldn't be around him enough to actually allow him our protection. So, and quite frankly, it wasn't up to our friends or his friends to figure it out for him. So we made sure that he understood how critical it was and how important it was to have EpiPens with him at all times. So,
at what age do you think he had the confidence to go out into the world and almost fend for himself, or maybe vice versa? What age was he when you had the confidence that he could handle himself?
Well,
I still don't.
It is kind of scary.
It is scary all the time.
He went off to, I can honestly say that we were always like, got your EpiPen wherever he went, making sure he had it. He is now living away from us in college, so we had to, we have to trust that he has the EpiPen with him. I like to double check when I'm at his place, make sure that there's one in all of his bags or whatever, but he's pretty responsible now. The other good thing is, over the last 3 years, we have been challenging the nut allergy. He doesn't love the process. It's quite hard on his body, but because we have been doing it, the allergies, especially to tree nuts, has decreased quite a bit. So the tree nuts are what's cross-contaminated most often, because peanuts are such a specialty. They're a specialty nut. And so that's given us hope by challenging it, that at least now, if he comes into a cross-contamination issue, it won't react anaphylactically
as quickly.
Yeah.
I would say, back to your question, Mick, he left to play sports pretty young. Matt was pretty athletic at a young age. So I would say at like 5 and 6, we made sure that when he was off to hockey or going off to baseball or whatever sport he was doing, he had some form of a kit in his equipment or with him at all times. Of course, we were with him at that young age, but we still made sure that there was a kit all the time. And, I think he's growing up with that So it's pretty normal for him to look at his baseball gear and make sure he has a epi-pen and, whatever medicine he needs in there as well.
Yeah.
So.
I want to go back to that young age where you discovered Matt had that allergy. How did having that nut allergy affect the household? How did it affect, the siblings? How did it affect you two?
Yeah, we stopped eating peanuts. We stopped eating trail mix. We stopped eating like literally everything we bought at grocery stores. We would basically take a look at the ingredients list. Canada has a pretty forward-thinking approach to peanuts and tree nuts. So they do mark boxes really well. I think all across North America you would see that. But our bigger challenge was traveling with Matt, because you go into a restaurant, you have no idea. You go to a place like Mexico was a great example. If we traveled to Mexico, we weren't able to read the ingredients as well, and we weren't 100% confident that a lot of it was accurate or inaccurate. So we were pretty cautious about food that we were purchasing, food that was in the house. I can remember Lisa and I would go away on vacation, just the two of us, and we'd buy a little bag of tree nuts because we could eat it together. It was kind of a weird way to live, but yeah, we literally emptied the house of everything peanut.
And his older siblings helped him and kept an eye on him and made sure as well. So yeah.
Super awesome. Now, I know that from personal experience, I have a nut allergy as well. I can be in a room with peanuts or tree nuts. Frankly, you could eat peanut butter right next to me and I'll be fine. Obviously, then when it's ingested, that's the issue. What is Matt's sensitivity?
He's he can be near it. Like as he's gotten older, where we keep peanut butter in our house now. But we really have to make sure not to cross-contaminate, especially the peanut butter, because peanuts are his biggest reaction. So we have to be very careful. We make sure that we wash the counters if we're brave enough to have a peanut butter sandwich or whatever. But
he can smell it, actually.
Yeah.
He can smell. He'll say, I smell peanuts.
Yeah, and he doesn't love it. He has no interest in eating it or even want to, because I think his body's just been trained not to have them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's super interesting. Now, and I'll reference myself again, I have thankfully never really had that bad of a reaction where I've had to use an EpiPen. For most of my life, besides maybe a few rambunctious college years, I didn't carry an EpiPen with me. Obviously, Matt did. Has Matt had an issue where he's had to use his EpiPen?
Several.
Yeah, we've had some close calls. One of them was at school. He was in high school, middle school, and one of his friends went up to him and said, "Hey, check out this milkshake. It tastes delicious." Matt took a sip, and of course, it was a peanut butter milkshake. And he immediately started reacting. He knew he was in trouble. His EpiPen actually was in his locker, and he panicked. He was in grade 5 or 6, and he panicked, and he ran to his sister's room, and knocked on the door, and said, "Get out here, get out here." So she ran out, and then they ran to the office. She took him to the office, and what happens to him is it's not really his breathing, but he feels like his chest tightening. Mm-hmm. He can still breathe, but he feels a real pressure in his chest. So anyways, his sister was able to get the EpiPen out of his locker, and she ran back and she administered it. And then what happens, the protocol in schools and in Canada is you go immediately to emergency, and we spend many, many hours there where they are watching because the more reactions he has, the greater the reactions can be.
And added once you have one reaction, the second reaction can happen very quickly thereafter.
Yeah.
And it could be twice as bad. So yeah, we were very cautious about it.
Yeah. Another time we were on a boat, and this is actually really scary.
This was a
we
scary
went
one.
to Costco, and we had bought, because we are very careful with the snacks, everything. So we bought those dehydrated peas from Costco, and they were supposed to be fine, nut free, everything.
They were branded nut free.
Yeah, branded nut free. And then so he ate one on the boat, and we were far from anywhere. We were on the water, and he said, "I'm having an allergic reaction, like right now." And so I looked at him, and like, oh my gosh. So we booted back to shore, and we ran, and we got an epi-pen. And this, like, I purposely didn't take the epi-pen on the boat. It was this silly error on my part, because it was over 40, like it was hot. Like,
and epi-pens have to remain
cool
at room temperature.
Yeah, so we're fine. I'm gonna leave it in the air-conditioned trailer,
and
because we have a boat of nut-free food.
That's right. We were conscious. Everything was nut-free, apparently.
Yeah, you had no indication to think that there would be an issue, right?
Nothing.
But it was cross-contaminated, which is why we appreciate you and doing this and all your work in a nut-free facility, because that cross-contamination is so scary. And anyways, he was fine. We got him an epi-pen, got him to the hospital, and
he gave himself
the stabbed in the leg again.
Yeah,
he did it himself, and that was
first another day.
That was the first time we were a long ways from a hospital too.
Yeah.
So that was a little nerve-wracking in that we only had the one epi-pen, and so we did our very best to get there as fast as we could.
Yeah, he was fine.
And he was fine,
yeah,
thankfully. The one thing I will say about peanuts and tree nut allergies, you never know how bad or how quickly it'll progress. So you might go through 1 or 2 or 3 reactions that are similar, and the fourth could be like completely different and way worse than the third. And there's no directionally correct way that you will react every single time. It's just very random. So our allergist was very cautious with us and said, you have to make sure that you have 2 epi-pens at all times. You have to have a bottle of Benadryl. You have to, the various topics were always in his kit. And for whatever reason that day we had 1. So it was just, you panic, right? So, and we were cautious, like we said, with non-peanut snacks. But here we are telling the story of a cross-contaminated snack. So,
that's interesting. You mentioned the pea, right? Now, question A, in regards to that, did it say that it could have been made in a facility that also processed nuts?
No, we were, it said totally, completely nut-free. So, yeah.
My question then is, so in my endeavor with Mick's Got No Nuts, I have learned that a lot of people with nut allergies also have pea sensitivities. I had no idea.
Yes.
Is there a chance that Matt's allergic to pea, or is this just you're convinced this is cross-contamination?
Yeah, we didn't test him after that, Mick, honestly.
Yeah.
But it could very well be, right?
Has he had peas before besides that day? I mean, I'm sure he has, right?
He has, but he doesn't love them.
No,
so I
he doesn't.
really believe in that. Like, I think you kind of intrinsically know what works for your body or not. So that very well could be, for sure. Yeah.
Interesting though. Yeah.
So that's 2 occurrences. I had to ask: are we at 2, or has there been more?
There's been many more.
I don't
know.
We were
poor Matt.
This is just a very simple one. We were at my sister's for a family dinner, and she was very conscious. She knows straight up that Matt is allergic to nuts and tree nuts, and put out snacks for Matt. They were simple bags of chips that were nut-free. There was, snacks around that were nut-free. And then there was another tray that was not nut-free. Well, someone had ate something off one tray of snacks and then ate something out of the
Yeah.
peanut-free tray of snacks and cross-contaminated, and immediately Matt reacted. That's how quickly it happens. So same thing. He gave himself an epi-pen in the leg, and off we went to emergency.
I laughed just because I'm just emotionless. Just gotta do it, gotta do it.
Yeah, but since all those main events, we have been challenging it, and so I'm feeling more brave that if it was something cross-contaminated, that his body could handle it, but we haven't had that determined yet.
I would also say, Matt, now that he's older, young adult, he knows what he can eat and what he can't eat. He's tested the waters enough, and he doesn't even venture down a path. You're talking about protein bars, Mick. He doesn't even touch them. He just knows straight up. He will not touch them.
Which is so sad because he's an athlete and he plays college baseball. And that's the hardest thing, is to keep that kid fed and eating like proper foods and not just eating junk. And so if you could, we'll be your #1 supporters if you can get a protein bar that will work for him, because like we buy him chocolate milk and we give him lots of beef, and he eats 1,000 eggs, that we try and find all the things, but the fast, like healthy protein bar to support his nutrition just isn't there at all.
As an athlete, he's on bus trips, right? He's on road trips. He has to take enough food to keep himself fed throughout the bus trip, and then preparing for the next game, etc. He needs to eat between games, etc. So it's really difficult. He carries a cooler full of meat, basically, because he can't be eating eggs, and he can't be doing some of the stuff he does in a kitchen. So we do a lot of chocolate milk, that kind of thing, but it isn't really sustainable for long periods of time. The protein would be perfect. Yeah.
So chocolate milk, meat, eggs, anything else that maybe were high protein that you would try? Eat?
He like beef jerky, what are those pepperoni sticks or whatever.
Yeah.
He eats. We'll try and get him some cheese. He's not a big fan of. He'll eat a little bit of beans, but it's not fun for like a 19-year-old boy to open a can of beans and eat them down, right? Like,
He's not a huge fan of eating fish, so it's not like he can eat a lot of tuna. He'll tolerate it, but he doesn't eat a lot of tuna, so it's not. His choices are limited, especially on road trips, right?
Yeah, I bet.
Because that's where he packs a bag full of whatever he can.
Yeah. I know when I was growing up, when I was super skinny, as in high school, all these kids around me were putting on muscle, bulking up, and I'd always ask, "What are you eating to bulk up? Where are you getting that muscle from?" "Oh, peanut butter." Like that just does not help me at all. Thank you very much.
No, I know.
That's not very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, or like he'll be with friends and they have like a little jar of nuts, or
So that's a good question. So as parents, you obviously worry about Matt wherever he is. Is there any kind of tips and tricks you've learned along the way that maybe, for extra context, a new parent just found out their toddler just got diagnosed with a nut allergy? Could you provide them any advice or guidance on how to navigate that?
I would say I work in the education system, and so just really empowering the kids to understand their allergy and advocate for themselves. There's so many families where they've do everything they can to protect their child, without their child even really understanding the whole importance of it. And I think I'm really proud that Matt could, go to school or go to a birthday party and be bold enough or brave enough to honor his allergy. It's because it's his, it's not everybody else's. So I think it's really important that they understand it and take ownership of that.
Yeah,
and I think that's helped him quite a bit.
I think it was helpful having Lisa in the education system. I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have tried to glass house, protect the boy. But Lisa's straight from day one. He's like, okay, Matthew, you have to own this. You are responsible for your own health, and nobody will care that you're allergic to peanuts. You have to care. So it was a good solution. I do also think as a young kid, it's good to, there's always a group of friends that Matt was either at their house or with them. We shared a lot of information with those parents, and they all had a kit. So once a year in September, we'd get the refreshed epi-pens because they do expire, and we'd make sure that every kit in all of Matt's close friends would be refreshed with an updated epi-pen, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a big part when he was growing up, for sure.
Yeah. How frequently did you have to get epi-pens? Did they expire for you?
Annually.
Yeah.
It seemed like every August I'd look at the dates and
kind of school year to school year, but we I think the longest we can get most of the times is like 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of hit and miss, whatever lot you get at the pharmacy at that point. Usually it's about 12 months to 18 months tops.
Yeah.
So we're consciously every year, every school year. It's just a good time. Yeah. And you take it to the school and introduce them to the epi-pen, and they usually keep one in the office as well. So.
And even just like reading the labels in grocery stores, just teaching them to do that and look, just to make sure, it isn't a nut-free facility, and, just that educating piece is huge.
Yeah, I think so.
But, yeah.
That's a good question about the school system, especially with a parent, a parent with a young kid. What do you have to communicate to the school?
So it's really important in Canada, the parents they'll come in and have a meeting, and they'll tell us that we ask right in their registration if they have any allergies, and then we get medical notes signed by their doctors that we can administer an EpiPen if needed, or the student will administer it. We keep them up at the office where all the staff can access them. So yeah, it's good that schools need to know, because it is like a lot of times most of the schools are not aware, and so families are very good about sending nut-free snacks with their kids, but it's impossible to 100% guarantee it.
You'll see signs on classroom doors occasionally.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is the same in the States, but in Canada, you'll see signs on classroom doors, peanut, tree nut allergy in the room. And then that's just broadening the knowledge for everyone walking in that there is an allergy in the room. So,
Lisa, the school that you work at, it sounds like there are obviously nut-free rooms. Are there nut-free tables? Are there nut-free areas? I mean, can you elaborate on that more?
All the kids eat at their own desk. So so they'll wash them, or they'll eat at their own desk. So that's kind of changed over the last few years. We don't have lunch rooms really anymore at the schools I've been at anyways. Yeah.
And kids can they are allowed to bring nut snacks if they want. They just I guess the kid with the nut allergy has to be aware of it, I suppose, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the teacher, if a child with an allergy, she will let the families know, and then they will they usually respond amazingly and support the student in the room. But if they did, all the kids are aware. So if Chris had the allergy and I brought a sandwich, quite often I would just tell the teacher, oh gosh, I have a peanut butter sandwich. And the teacher say, okay, just go eat it out in the hall with a friend or whatever. So we try our best to make sure that all the kids are safe, and if families are trying as well, it's usually pretty successful.
Sure has changed a lot, because I think my elementary, junior high, high school, there was none of that. So I think the world has evolved, and I would say tree nut and peanut allergies have evolved as well, and there's more and more of them.
Yeah.
Certainly, I would say it's more prevalent now than certainly when I was in elementary school or junior high. So,
why do you think nut allergies have kind of exploded onto the scene? Why do you think it's grown so much?
I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe we should ask the allergist that next time. I'm serious.
Yeah,
it seems like there's way more peanut allergies. More schools are more aware of it because there's just that many more kids. I can't remember. I don't think I knew a kid that had a peanut allergy, right? So now we know tons of people that have peanut allergies or tree nut.
Yeah.
So I don't know what.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I was just saying I don't know exactly why it's evolved so much. But.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you one last question, if you don't mind. So obviously, Matt's alive and well, right? You know, he's had some rocky roads, but he's doing well, and he's well trained in how to, take care of himself. From when he was, diagnosed with an allergy when he was 2 to now he's 19, is there something that you wish that A, that he did differently, and B, maybe the people around him did differently to cater to his nut allergy? I'm asking a question on like behaviors of him and then of people around him.
The hardest part with Matt, and I think probably with most boys, is just like accepting it and being thoughtful and not running out the door because he's excited and forgetting it. Like that was the hardest work we had to do. And just the busyness of the boy brain. I don't, probably with girls too, like just that constant, do you have it? Do you have your epi-pen? And it's super frustrating for them to always have to have the stupid epi-pen with them. But
I think growing up and watching him play sports was always tough because, you're in a dressing room. The parents aren't in the dressing room. There's one coach, and that coach might not know every snack that's going through. And I would never say don't play sports, but I do think for Matt, that was probably the toughest. You grow up in a tough world. You don't really want to be singled out as, oh, don't sit by him because you're eating a particular power bar or a particular, nut snack. So I don't think Matt really liked to be singled out. And quite frankly, it's easy nowadays to accept peanut allergies. So I think, that's a tough one. Sports are really tough because you got to let your kid go. And there's a certain point when you're not in dressing rooms, you're not on the bus trips. You might follow the bus trip, but you are not part of it. So you really have to drive that home with the kid to own it. So
I understand the stubbornness. I mean, even today when I go out to a restaurant, now I'm I've learned how to navigate it. I don't think mine is as bad as Matt's, but I typically won't. Well, first of all, I'll avoid foods that I know will have nuts. But I don't really typically broadcast my nut allergy. If I'm going to an ice cream shop, for example, and even though the peanut butter scoop or the bin is right next to, say, the banana, and I order the banana, I won't really broadcast that, hey, can you just use a new scoop? I don't know why, but sometimes it's hard to express yourself because you don't want to single yourself out. You don't want to make people go out of their way to clean something that that you'll probably be fine, but is the probably worth it? it's a tough balance sometimes. I probably should just suck it up and ask, but
Yeah.
I
think
get the stubbornness.
I think there is and again, I'm only speaking for Canadian restaurants and Canadian retail. I find that servers are much better now than they've ever been, and I know, I believe even many restaurants will have an epi-pen in the restaurant in case something happens.
Really?
Here in Canada, yeah, I can't speak for all restaurants, but I know that's very prevalent.
Yeah.
In addition, you'll hear the servers ask right out of the gate, are there any allergies at the table, or do we have any concerns with allergies? It's very, very common now.
Yeah.
So I think the world has become more accepting of it, and cautious, quite frankly.
That's super.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of well, maybe I have, I just don't remember, but a server asking about allergies first and foremost.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
It's not every restaurant, like I say, but more and more will
Yeah.
ask.
Becoming the norm.
Yeah. But I can't tell you how many times I've gone to any kind of store or like health food stores, and I'm like scouring, I'm like in my brain, there's got to be one bar that we can get for this boy of ours. Like there's got to be something, and there isn't. So it's just super exciting that
not anything that's good for them. I mean, let's be honest. You can get these crappy granola bars that are terribly full of sugar, and that's not really what you want to power your kid with, before games or before school, or it's really, and those might be peanut free, but it's certainly not
it's not healthy.
Not the healthy diet that you're hoping for.
And they're probably super low protein, right? Higher-ish calories and minimal protein.
Yeah, probably more sugar than anything.
100%.
Yeah. Well, we're creeping up on 30 minutes, but Chris and Lisa, any final thoughts on Mick's Talking No Nuts?
Get her done. I hope you are successful. I personally think there's a huge requirement for this. I've seen some of your ads, Mick. Walking down the aisles of the grocery stores, there is literally no peanut free.
There's nothing available.
So
you think I'd be exaggerating, but I'm literally not.
I know.
No,
as parents, we know that because we tried this, doesn't work. And we have two other athletes in our house. Out of our three kids, they were all athletes. Our gymnasts, they would eat power bars. They would eat, both our girls were both into gymnastics, and they would eat way better than Matt just because it was readily available. Not Matt.
Probably put poor Matt in the corner while their siblings ate their siblings ate the power bars, right? So
we're super excited for you. This is like a dream for us. We're very, I can't believe that nobody's thought of this sooner. So I know you're going to be successful. From all the parents that have kids with nut allergies, we do appreciate your hard work.
Yeah, parents, schools, athletes, all these sporting events. It's a big deal.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know most of my followers right now are most likely parents. I'll share a fun fact with you on my Facebook page. I have nearly 400 followers. Do you want to guess what percentage are women?
Most
87.
95%.
95.
Which is making me think that it's mostly moms, right? It's parents worrying about their kids with nut allergies. And the ones that would be maybe more vocal on social media platforms like Facebook to advocate for an idea like this. So I just found that super interesting, that we need more dads to step up into the and follow me on Mick's No Nuts on Facebook. That's my call to action. But
I followed you, Mick. We're good.
I know you did. Well, Chris and Lisa, I very much appreciate your time, and I'm going to be opening it up to people. Anyone who wants to ask you a question, I'll direct them to the comment section, and then if we do get questions, I'll navigate them to Chris and Lisa, and then maybe they can potentially be a resource for anyone looking for guidance, maybe with new kids or kids with new allergies. So again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. All the best, Mick.